Hello, Dr. Perry. Um, because you are a professor in like neurobiology and things, I think we want to start from the beginning, and that's where did you first get an interest in this field specifically?
In neuroscience or science in general?
Science in general, I would say.
Oh, that goes back as far as I can remember, at least till the age of five, four or
Oh.
five.
Hmm.
I grew up in a fairly isolated part of California coast,
Hmm.
and I studied the natural world around
Hmm.
me.
Hmm.
So I was always inquisitive about that.
Hmm.
Did I apply scientific principles and methods? No, not till much later.
Hmm.
But I had an interest and knew that I wanted to be something related to science.
Hmm.
Neuroscience, that initial curiosity led me to study marine biology,
Hmm.
which is where my degrees are all in marine
Hmm.
biology.
Right.
And in fact, all my formal training is in marine biology.
Hmm.
The And then my interest in Alzheimer's disease developed because I got a job studying Alzheimer's
Oh.
disease.
Hmm.
And and that interest developed through time. And in
Hmm.
fact, I applied many of the principles I learned from marine biology to Alzheimer's disease.
Hmm. Right. Hmm. Um, what I see that you are like renowned for oxidative stress. What do you think like got you like interested in this field as well?
That interest came from my PhD advisor, David Epple.
Hmm.
I was very interested in metabolism.
Hmm.
And during that time, which was the middle 1970s,
Hmm.
there were a lot less work dealing with metabolism.
Hmm.
Metabolism had been, well, right now it's really reemerged because of the issue of obesity and other
Hmm.
things.
Hmm.
But during that time, there was less interest in it.
Hmm.
And so oxidative stress was a way to study something that was parallel to metabolism because it
Hmm.
relates to the electron flow
Hmm.
in the body. It's
Hmm.
just it's not the physiological, well, at least at that time was not to be thought to be the physiological part.
Hmm.
This summer marked 50 years I've been studying oxidative stress. So
Wow.
I studied it originally at fertilization at the
Hmm.
beginning of life, and now I study it with aging, the end of life.
Hmm. Um, would you say that you teach more or if you do research more now?
Not an easy question to answer.
Hmm.
I'm probably teaching a lot
Hmm.
in the balance of things. I
Hmm.
teach one large neuroscience class. I teach a research class and a PhD student and some master student. I was just talking with one right before we talked. Uh,
Hmm.
um, but in the balance, probably most of my efforts are related to research.
Hmm.
Certainly, if I look at it overall,
Hmm.
probably half my efforts are directed to research and probably 25% related to teaching
Right.
and 20% related to some type of service activity.
Right. When you see all these other professors like do their work as well, would you say they're more research based or teaching based? Because I see a lot of people have a trend in research, but I'm not sure if this is like consistent across all professors.
You have to look at each person different at the institution they're in.
Hmm.
When I that percentage has that been the same throughout all my career? No, it's probably changed. I'm
Hmm.
probably doing more teaching now
Hmm.
than I used to do.
Hmm.
And I think that would be if you work in a research institute
Hmm.
where you're probably supported primarily by grants,
Hmm.
or in a private medical school like I used to work.
Hmm.
Um, Probably more likely 70 or 80% of your efforts are related to research,
Hmm. I see.
as opposed to teaching because one of the things is in research institutes or heavily um, private institutions of research,
Hmm.
the there are not that many students.
Right.
As where
I.
I'm in a full service university
Hmm.
and we have over 35,000 students, and I
Oh,
teach
wow.
classes um, with over 100 students in them.
Hmm. I've noticed you have a work or a research paper called The Amyloid Beta Pathway in Alzheimer's Disease. How did you start this paper, or how did you collaborate, and how did you like formulate it?
This is a collaborative study,
Hmm.
okay, which I contributed a small piece in. Initially, when the people who suggested that we work on this paper to me, I said, wow, I have questioned the amyloid approach in Alzheimer's disease for 20, well, now over 25 years.
Hmm.
How can I buy into being part of this study?
Hmm.
And they said, well, that's why we need you.
Hmm.
So
Right.
I looked through it and I contributed a bit to it.
Hmm.
And this study does not put amyloid as the cause to the disease.
Hmm.
It's mainly just a very good description of what's
Hmm.
happening with regard to amyloid beta,
Hmm.
etc. So I'm very excited to be there. And you're not the only one who's asked me about it. Somebody, an interviewer from Nature
Hmm.
magazine that was doing an article, asked me about that particular article. He said, you're
Hmm.
questioning the amyloid theory, and yet you're an author of this paper with a lot of amyloid proponents. And
Hmm.
I said, because the paper doesn't say that amyloid is the cause. I
Hmm.
think amyloid is really a critical part of Alzheimer's disease. I study it extensively,
Hmm.
but that doesn't mean that I think it's the cause. And by cause, I mean it is the initiator of the disease.
Hmm.
And to my view, we've disproved that
Hmm.
numerous times.
Hmm. Right. And as you mentioned before, you have a PhD in marine biology. Would you say that this was more like a self-propelled interest, or was this like a guided interest?
My interest in marine biology was because I was very interested in diversity of life.
Hmm.
And most of the diversity of animal life, and that's what I was interested mostly in animals, is in the ocean.
Hmm.
So that was how I moved to
Oh.
that. I was interested mostly in invertebrate zoology
Hmm. I see.
and invertebrate zoology, invertebrate comparative biochemistry,
Hmm.
about adaptational metabolism and things like that.
Hmm.
So oxidative stress is not that, but it's
Hmm.
some very close thing.
Right.
Um, if I had been born earlier, I would have been a taxonomist.
Hmm.
But by the time, even at my age, that wasn't a major thing to be an invertebrate zoologist, although, I mean, taxonomist. Although I did know some people that did that. They were much older than me. They were
Hmm.
more senior professors.
Hmm.
And I had friends that were marine ichthyologists that
Hmm.
were taxonomists, but I
Hmm.
wasn't interested even in vertebrates.
Right.
So even fish, I studied fish because I really liked very much the professors who taught those courses,
Hmm.
but my interest in fish even was limited. I was interested in invertebrates.
Hmm. Right. And I understand that you have done a lot of research too. Do you think, or in your experience, have you collaborated with a lot of professors that are outside neurobiology or neuroscience? And does this happen often if you have collaborated with others that are not in the same field?
Well, I collaborate with many people throughout the world.
Hmm.
Um, Most of the time, we're collaborating on something that we have a similar interest in.
Hmm.
And so I'm thinking, I mean, do I do I have that many collaborations that don't involve things related to neurodegenerative disease? Probably not that many.
Hmm.
Why? Because I'm an expert in this area,
Hmm.
and that is the reason most people collaborate with me. Either I
Hmm.
can do something for them because I have some technical expertise, or more likely, my knowledge expertise.
Hmm.
And I would like to think that would even apply to marine biology, but that's probably only me that believe I have
Hmm.
that expertise. In
Right.
other words, sometimes I collaborate with people that do studies. Well, I mean, in Alzheimer's disease, I collaborate with people like that do epidemiological type studies.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm not an expert in that.
Hmm.
Although I've now had two or three grants on this topic
Wow.
and published, well, not me being the central person, always a
Hmm.
peripheral person,
Hmm.
but I'm very involved in giving expertise, but it still relates to Alzheimer's disease.
Hmm.
So I might do studies looking at Ozempic and Alzheimer's disease, or looking at data sets to look whether you can predict whether somebody's going to have Alzheimer's disease,
Hmm.
things like that. But
Hmm.
those are still related to my expertise.
Hmm.
Do I have papers that reach out beyond that? I've had them over time. I mean, I have
Hmm.
collaborated with people like in brain tumors
Hmm.
or brain trauma.
Hmm.
But brain trauma is still kind of Alzheimer's disease. It's still
Right.
neurodegenerative aspects. So I guess I'm probably specialized. In fact, this actually played a role in me transitioning some of my work
Hmm.
because after I obtained tenure,
Hmm.
had grants, was established to some
Hmm.
degree,
Hmm.
so mid-career, one could say. I then thought, what could I do that was close to marine biology that involved Alzheimer's disease? And I
Hmm.
spent years trying to develop oxidative stress
Hmm.
in Alzheimer's disease.
Hmm.
Not because there was prior work.
Right.
I just did it because I thought it would be something I could do that would be fulfilling for me.
Right.
So, and I thought it probably played some role.
Hmm.
And I certainly would be one of the first, if not the first, in the field because there wasn't anything else. Fortunately, some other people published things around the same time
Right.
as I eventually did, which is actually important because if you're the only one, it makes it really difficult to get grants
Hmm.
because then no one accepts it.
Right.
Most work requires repetition.
Hmm. Right. Okay. Because there's an obvious growth in AI and machine learning. Do you think this will help with Alzheimer research, or will this like make it a setback for us?
Well, I'm involved in this because these epidemiological studies, which I view them as epidemiological, are actually AI studies. Okay.
Oh.
Okay. Because you can, for example, look at data sets, large data sets of people and use AI to analyze things that you'd miss otherwise. I think AI has the potential to disclose relationships. Oh,
Hmm.
and then I would mention I'm working together with um, the Oscar Fisher project in
Hmm.
Austin, Texas, which is using AI to bring together data to have a unified idea of Alzheimer's disease.
Hmm.
So I think it has the chance of bringing things together in unbiased manners
Hmm.
that you wouldn't see when you have people,
Hmm.
including myself,
Right.
that we all have or fixate on one or two things.
Hmm.
AI, and I've seen analysis by AI, not always, but many times able to really get subtleties.
Hmm.
I mean, the way I evaluate it from a egocentric point is I look at can it understand what I've done?
Hmm.
And I see other people write reviews about oxidative stress and they missed a lot of the key points.
Right.
AI sometimes gets every point.
Right.
And
Hmm.
that's kind of amazing to me.
Hmm.
Why? Because it doesn't have, I think because it doesn't have a preconception. It deals
Hmm.
with what's there. No, of course it
Right.
makes mistakes.
Hmm.
But people make mistakes all the time too.
Hmm. Right.
So I think AI is a positive
Hmm.
addition.
Right.
I mean, I don't know about AI in general, right? It's a
Hmm.
little scary about if you have autonomous weapons and you have people impersonating each other and all this other stuff. Yeah, I think that there are definitely things to worry about. But as a scientific tool, I think it's a tremendously positive and powerful approach.
Hmm.
And it's something I've been interested in for a long time, is
Hmm.
about that I'm convinced the answer to Alzheimer's disease already exists, but how
Hmm.
do you know how to recognize it?
Right.
Because there's just so much material,
Hmm.
and biology is such an inherent contradiction because it's so
Hmm.
simple.
Hmm.
I mean, cells can only do a couple things,
Hmm.
right? DNA only does it one thing.
Hmm.
Each thing only does sort of a couple things.
Hmm.
And they're all simple, but you put them all together, you have an indeterminate amount of possibilities. And
Hmm.
how do you get at what's important?
Right.
And that's a major issue in Alzheimer's disease,
Hmm.
is the complexity of what's happening. And one of the issues, and I think it's relevant to mention this, is that when you deal with complicated chronic diseases,
Hmm.
that are, I think they're very homeostatic. In other
Hmm.
words, they're about the balance. People
Hmm.
don't develop them and drop dead. They
Hmm.
develop them and have decreased function in a new metabolic state.
Hmm.
And so there may not be a single cause,
Hmm.
that
Right.
you have multiple things impinging,
Hmm.
changing to a new state.
Hmm.
And our mind is not set up for that. We
Hmm.
want to always think that well, at least I think the simplistic view is we want to think there's a single thing. I can put this finger on it. It's amyloid. Oh, if it
Hmm.
isn't amyloid, it's tau. What
Hmm.
if it's everything you're looking at? And
Hmm.
then how do you piece them together?
Right.
So I don't think that there's probably aspects of conceptualization of problems
Hmm.
that,
Right.
for our vocabulary and the way we think.
Hmm.
And along that line, I think it's because people made so much progress a
Hmm.
century ago with a single straight line thing.
Hmm.
I have an infection, it causes this problem. I remove the pathogen, I go back to normal. If I don't, then the disease progresses. I have a
Right.
defect, I'm born with some heart problem or something else. You fix it surgically, you can be normal. If you can't, you have a problem. What if,
Hmm.
in fact, those type of ideas don't fit? I don't think they fit for
Hmm.
chronic age-related diseases.
Hmm. Right.
And that is probably why, if you look across the board, most chronic age-related diseases are only marginally treated. They're
Hmm.
not cured.
Hmm.
And could they be cured? I think if we understood the basis, we certainly could do better therapeutics.
Hmm. Right. And because you have been teaching a lot more than researching, because you did all this Alzheimer and oxidative stress, and now you're like more focused on teaching. Do you think
Oh,
that
I
teaching,
still I still published 20 papers a year last year.
oh yeah. But do you think that if you teach students, you can also learn a lot from them? Or is it?
Yes, I sometimes I learn from them, depends
Mhm.
on the situation, but amazingly, I learn a lot teaching the class because when I go through a class, and probably I learn the most from teaching biology one, freshman biology.
Mhm.
Why? Because it covers every topic in biology.
Mhm.
Um, I learned some from teaching neuroscience,
Mhm.
but probably less because it's
Mhm.
less fundamental.
Right.
The I read it the same way. I mean, well, I try to read it so I can explain it for a beginning student.
Hmm.
But then I also look at it, what bothers me about paradoxes? Because that's what I read when I read scientific papers. I don't read them for the content.
Hmm.
I read them for what's missing.
Oh, I see.
I actually don't care what they found.
Hmm.
Okay. I care what they didn't find.
Hmm.
Reason being, I can only answer in terms of research things that are not known. So
Right,
I look what things don't make sense to me.
right.
If A is true, then why isn't B true?
Hmm.
And that type of thing. And I find a lot of things I think that are interesting. I mean, for example, I didn't really understand that the body works like a battery.
Hmm.
Did the book say that? No. But
Hmm.
I didn't realize that the body runs on creating um, ion gradients
Hmm.
all over the place.
Right.
Because what I learned before when I took the class was it was all done by ATP.
Hmm.
Okay. But ATP works together with the ion gradients.
Right.
So I learned it in a way that ion gradients were useful for electrical signals. Okay.
Hmm.
And ATP was useful for energetics. I
Hmm.
didn't realize that they were completely interchangeable.
Hmm.
And so that's just one of the types of concepts
Hmm.
that I got from. And did the students understand that? I don't know. I asked some questions about that,
Hmm.
not on exams,
Hmm.
and they kind of looked with blank looks. But I thought that was, for me, really interesting. Was that
Hmm.
said in the book? No. Maybe it was. And then the other thing for neuroscience, I tried understanding what does it mean to be conscious and what does it mean to have a memory.
Hmm. Right.
And in one sense, I talked to some colleagues that know more about neuroscience than me, or at least
Hmm.
the picture that they do. They
Hmm.
have a better educational background in it.
Hmm.
And a lot of their answers didn't really satisfy me. I
Hmm.
knew some of the work of Roger Penrose about
Hmm.
microtubules and actually published something on this myself because I
Hmm.
was so interested. And I asked some of the questions in AI. I
Hmm.
actually got exceptionally good answers from AI
Hmm.
um, because it was sort of where I was thinking already
Right.
about how retrieval. Then I talked to some experts subsequently
Hmm.
that were doing exactly the right kind of work to understand this. They were
Hmm.
imaging experts, and they didn't have a very clear idea.
Right.
So that's the type of thing I enjoy. So I wrote, this article about consciousness because
Hmm.
it wouldn't have been would I have written an article about consciousness where I not have taught that class? I don't think so. I think I
Hmm.
did it because of the class and that we
Right.
had Roger Penrose here. I
Hmm.
didn't understand actually what Roger Penrose's idea. I loved the idea, but I
Hmm.
actually couldn't understand it very well. And
Oh.
that is that microtubules defined a quantum computing organization.
Oh, wow.
Right. I thought it
Hmm.
was really neat because I showed that microtubules change
Hmm.
during Alzheimer's disease. There's a decrease of about 80%. And I
Hmm.
thought, wow, that really could be explain some of the changes we see.
Hmm.
Does that mean it's correct? No. Okay. It's just an idea. But, people do not have an understanding of how the brain really generates us,
Right.
generates our mind, our
Hmm.
consciousness. We understand ourselves like we understand kind of like a mouse. A mouse brain may not generate consciousness.
Hmm.
Um, that's sort of where we understand us.
Hmm. Right. Thank you so much for having this interview with me today. I learned a lot. And, because of this Alzheimer, this teaching, and all this research, I think these perspectives can really build something and they can provide someone with like new insight. Thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure. It's really a pleasure to meet you
Hmm.
and have the chance to share some thoughts.
Hmm. Thank you.